Welcome, nerds, to another episode of DNA POW Block, our all Nintendo show where I, Joey, ask Corey questions about Nintendo-related things that, maybe we don't necessarily talk about as much because Corey's our only Nintendo expert on there with our group.
It's true. That's true.
All right, well.
The sad truth.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe eventually maybe when the new Nintendo system comes out, maybe I'll get into Nintendo more. We'll see.
Not with that controller that's leaking around.
Probably not. Well, that can kind of lead into this question. Ray asks, why does Nintendo break my heart with their choices?
Well, Ray.
If that controller is actually what they're going to decide to go with.
Yeah.
I think they're breaking a lot of hearts.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about this controller on this episode because we don't know if it's real or not. A lot of people are saying it's the prototype Vita controller that is floating around. But anyways, Nintendo, as much as I love Nintendo, I love their history. I love their games. My first system, my personal first system was a Game Boy, even though we had an Atari. My first system was a Game Boy. So I've grown up with Nintendo, and I love everything about Nintendo. I love their franchises. I love, there's pretty good times even doing DNA stuff where we've had great times playing Nintendo games, Smash and GoldenEye and Mario Kart, stuff like that.
Pod racing.
Yeah, pod racing. Oh my gosh. Don't. Yeah. Draw distance of like 2 feet.
In a game where you're traveling at 700 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh, that was so bad. But ever since, GameCube, GameCube was like their last quote unquote normal system, trying to keep up with PlayStation and Xbox. Nintendo's kind of done their own separate things. They went with the mini discs on the GameCube and like the world's best controller. Gosh, the GameCube controller is so good. And we're still using it to play Super Smash Brothers. Looks like Nintendo did something right.
Before.
But, the Wii, as much as I loved some of the games on that system, that was the first time that Nintendo was not my primary console. And it was kind of upsetting. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time with my 360. I had a lot of games. I fell in love with franchises I didn't normally play, like Gears of War and Halo. I wasn't a huge Halo person until Halo 3. But the Wii, it wasn't an HD, which at the time we didn't know was going to be like HD was going to be fast-tracked, so the games didn't look as pretty. The processing power was somebody, I forget who it was, but they literally said it's literally 2 GameCubes duct taped together was the processing power. So, basically we got GameCube 2.0. It was the first time I didn't own every single Nintendo game that came out on the console that I can remember. I bought Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. I bought Metroid because I love Metroid. But other than that, I bought Smash and Mario Kart, obviously. But there's only a couple other games on there that I felt were really worth playing. The Last Story was one of them. Really great game. Pandora's Tower, Xenoblade Chronicles. There's a couple really good RPGs on there that, even though the game, definitely when Xenoblade came out, that system was so dated, but that game was just so good and so worth playing that, you had to have a Wii for it. And those are like the decisions that Nintendo makes that I wish Nintendo would make a console, because they can do it. We know Nintendo can make the console to compete with, Super Nintendo, N64. Those consoles were great, and they were powerhouses. They were graphical powerhouses. Maybe the cartridge couldn't hold as much as a disc on PS1 for N64, but the 64-bit graphics made all the difference compared to the pixelated crap that was on PS1. I'm sorry, like
that's true.
Like when Crash Bandicoot and Metal Gear Solid are your best looking games on PS1, like I'm sorry. And Resident Evil was terrible looking, but it's what PlayStation owners had, and compared to what N64 had. Now, PlayStation outsold the N64, because they made that jump forward that Nintendo was not willing to make, which was games for the growing up gamer. We grew up playing Nintendo games, and Nintendo kind of got left behind for the kids audience, where people were starting to want games like more mature games like Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, jump ship to make a more mature story. They got all these Resident Evil. These were games that Nintendo didn't want because they wanted to keep a kid audience, and that really hurt Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so once people jumped ship to PlayStation, then we got PlayStation 2, which I don't have to tell you how popular that system was. That system was awesome. I mean, GameCube was my primary system that console generation, but crap, PlayStation 2 was awesome. We got games like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy X, God of War, games that would never, ever be on Nintendo.
Right.
So I think that's...
Kingdom Hearts might, but other than that,
yeah.
Kingdom
Hearts games are on Nintendo systems, but
I get what you're saying.
So, like, those types of decisions are what's hurting Nintendo. And now Nintendo is hurting in a different way, where they have been trying to get mature games on the Wii U. We saw Bayonetta, we saw Devil's Third, which is not very good, but, we got Resident Evil, we got Deus Ex. Games like that and Assassin's Creed that didn't sell well on Nintendo because people have already jumped ship to these other platforms because they're so integrated into the ecosystem.
Right.
Nintendo left out achievements. They left out an online infrastructure like Xbox Live and PSN, which really hurts the system in these days and age. They're just so stuck backwards. And as much as I love Satoru Iwata, what he did for the company, his decisions made the company money, but didn't necessarily give what you and I consider the hardcore gamer what we wanted from Nintendo, which, I mean, I know, like, I'm sure you have some love for Nintendo, and I'm sure, like, somebody always says a healthy Nintendo is good for the industry. Nintendo's not healthy right now.
No. Their handheld system is, but other than that, no.
Yeah, I mean, but in the console space,
no,
they're not. Which, this new president and some of the groundwork that Iwata left before he died, and this new president seem to be laying groundwork for something great. They have DNA, the Japanese company, building their online infrastructure to rival Xbox One and PlayStation 4. They've come out and said that. There's rumors that it's going to have a subscription-based virtual console system where you pay this much money a month and you get a certain amount of games to download each month, or you pay for the games in a la carte like you do now, which is good. The rumored specs are that of Xbox One. So that, I mean, at least it can compete in that sense. All these little things that they seem to be doing on the back end, and then, making their Nintendo account, which is their Xbox Live gamer tag equivalent. So right now they're doing a lot of little things that seem to be prepping this system to be the next big thing, but at the same time, it's too late.
Yeah.
Especially this generation. Everybody's already ingrained in their ecosystem, Xbox One or PS4. They're not going to, like, on an episode of Weekly Strike, we talked about Activision bringing Destiny to NX, the complete experience. How much time have we both put in Destiny?
A lot.
Are we going to buy an NX and totally do that all over again? No. We're going to keep playing Destiny on PS4 because that's where we play.
Right.
We're not going to buy a whole new system and do 200, 300 hours worth of work again just to play Destiny on an X. So that's kind of why Nintendo, it hurts to see Nintendo like this, because that's why third parties stray away from Nintendo.
Right.
And it sucks, because I still think like the NX needs to wait until the next generation of consoles launches. It would really suck, and it would really hurt to see Nintendo like that, because the Wii U it's a great little system, but it's a failure. Let's be honest, it's a failure. It would suck for a couple years, but when those next consoles finally come out and Nintendo does all this and boom, right off the bat, gives us all this free online, which is what they're rumored to have, is free online, because they're counting on your virtual console subscription service to be that part of the online. Nobody's going to want to pay for Xbox Live if they can get it for free on another system, Right. So, I don't know. I just think they're making the right steps to make their console,
but they're just
competitive,
doing it too late.
But it's way too late. This is something the Wii U should have been. So that's my opinion. That's why I think a lot of people are, because everybody has some sort of love for Nintendo. It's just that Nintendo's not doing what we today as gamers want.
Right.
So it's like a love-hate relationship type thing. And I love Nintendo. I will buy whatever Nintendo puts out. Ignoring that leaked NX controller thing. So, sorry, I kind of went on a
No, it's
rant
fine. It's
for
fine.
Nintendo, but I love the company, and like I love Zelda and Mario. And like 5 years ago, if you asked me, do I want these games? Do I want Nintendo to just start putting games on PS4 or Xbox One? I would have said, no way, man. Nintendo's a hardware maker. But now, like seeing the potential struggle that NX is going to have catching up to these other consoles, like why doesn't Nintendo just become a software maker at this point? And like, why don't they just make whatever the successor to 3DS is? Like they can have their own handheld hardware, make games for that, do their mobile thing, which their Miitomo looks kind of cool, and then the future of their mobile stuff, and then just give me Zelda on PlayStation 4. Zelda would sell so many copies on PS4.
Yeah.
Instead of being secluded to this small little company, small little box, that Nintendo would like quadruple their money if they just released Zelda. Like, imagine Zelda Wii U came to PS4. Would you buy it? Because I know you're not going to buy a Wii U for it.
I probably would.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like they would make so much more money if they were just a software maker now. And they have the quality to back it, unlike Sega when they drop the Dreamcast.
I was going to say, so take it like the Sega route, but actually have good games.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of just putting out a crappy Sonic game every 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well.
Gosh, Sega.
That's seems to be Corey's opinion on Nintendo and why they break his heart.
Yep.
It's kind of a long-winded explanation there, but I think it was well worth the listen.
It was. I just, there's so many things I could just like, because you don't really. We're sitting here talking about it like it's the easiest
but we don't
job
know.
in the world, but
we don't know anything that's going on behind the scenes. They don't really let us in, and so it's like.
Plus, we look at it like Nintendo is competing directly with PlayStation and Xbox. Maybe in their mind they're not.
Right.
Maybe 13 million Wii U's is a success for them from a business standpoint.
Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, to us, it's a video game console, so we automatically compare it to Xbox and PlayStation. But maybe Nintendo is not even thinking about it. But clearly they are, because they're taking the steps to build this infrastructure.
At least someone's thinking about it now.
Yeah. So.
Well.
Sorry, I just keep going.
Sorry. Thank you for joining us on this episode of DNA POW Block. And if you've liked what you've seen here, feel free to subscribe to the DNA YouTube page, and you can check out all of our other content as well on thedigitalnerdadvocates.com. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it, or subscribe, or comment below. do those YouTube things that we always try to get you to do.
Do the YouTube things.
So
like, subscribe, and share.
yeah. Until next time, I think we're out.